we've talked a little bit about the media and how that goes, and if you watch it forever, what that could potentially do to you. And what I think people don't recognize is how the media produces content, right? And so when you're in your car listening to the radio, your traditional news stations and stuff like that, they're of the assumption from their data points that people are not watching or binging like a Netflix, right? So when you're watching a Netflix, if you will, and this is just going to be like a how a content 101 piece of thing. So I have a journalism degree. I worked in media for several years, so I understand like how the breakdown is. And so they're under the understanding that people consume content in swings, meaning like a 20-minute swing, if you will, right? I don't know if that's the number, but it's roughly something like that. So if I'm in the car listening to the radio and I have a 22-minute commute, then that means minute 1 through 22 are roughly going to be a cycle. Then at minute 23, that recycles that song. So if you heard, the same song at minute 1 and 23, that's how long that cycle is. Now, some radio stations will obviously change what songs they play, but that's how the cycle goes. And so they realize that people aren't in front of a screen or listening 24/7, and so that's why you're hearing the same thing over and over again. So then if you consume content like that, like you would a Netflix binge, it could potentially overwhelm you, and you could think that, OMG, this is all I'm consuming over and over and over again. The same with social media, and the same, et cetera. And kudos to these companies to recognize that that's how people are consuming, right? As a marketer, that's what I want to see, is how can I get people to consume this thing more, right? Netflix has now started creating content that is trying to get people to binge in that kind of cycle, right? So that the end of an episode before would be like, tune in next week, where now they're like, we have to have something so exciting that you keep listening. And the average Netflix marathon viewing, which is what they want you to call it, not a binge, by the way, is over 3 hours. So if you're watching Netflix on a daily basis, or whatever you are, like, you're watching that kind of binging kind of way. And so be thinking about how you're actually consuming content as well, and how the actual distributor of that material is distributing content to you, because that can have a psyche on the mind as well, where most people have probably never thought of that. Most people have never really taken the time to really say, okay, well, how are they delivering the material to me, and why am I hearing the same thing over and over again? And the answer is simply because they know that you tune out.
And that's a great point, and that's something that from an entrepreneur standpoint, they need to understand that, and something that I mention a lot to the different people that I talk to. It's that if you're not tired of telling your story, then you haven't told it enough. And just because you feel like you are saying it over and over and over again, people are on these 21-minute cycles that you need to continue to share that story, share that message, share that post, whatever the case is. Because